Hi, y'all. Let's talk about how March is not scary. I just did a deep dive into this in my membership community and thought I would come here and also just do a little overview for you all on the astrology of March because Jupiter's in Gemini. There's a lot of misinformation going around about the astrology of March. And it's kind of pissed me off because I just don't feel like it's going to be the way that people are saying it's going to be. And I feel like it's unnecessarily scaring a lot of people. And we just don't have the bandwidth for that bullshit here. So let's go over the important dates of March and the important transits of March and my view of them. Like I just said, I did a deeper dive in my membership community. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, share your chart in there, ask questions about your own chart, how this stuff's going to affect you on a personal level, come join the membership. Love to have you in there. Yeah, I just love connecting with y'all in there and answering your personal chart questions. So, we can get a lot deeper. We do have a Venus retrograde in March. Okay, major players in March are the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, the eclipses. But honestly, these eclipses don't feel as intense as other eclipses that we've had. They feel really like the energy of breakthroughs. They feel like the energy of new beginnings. They feel like the energy of, oh, this is why that this thing wasn't happening for me or wasn't working out for me because I had to be at this place now in order to make this new thing work that's actually better for me, that I actually like more. I feel like March in general is kicking us into alignment with our intuition and really teaching us how to better flow. You know, if you're used to relying on your mind for a lot of things and you're trying to make a job or a career path work that you actually hate, because you think that you have to in order to make money or survive or whatever the belief is, right? Then yeah, March is probably going to trigger that a lot and probably going to bring it up for you to look at, to reframe and question. Do you really want to keep living a miserable existence and a job and a relationship and a whatever that you really don't like just for the sake of having it or just for the sake of, not being in discomfort and facing that it's probably not for you? March might be rough for you. But if you are one of those people who has been acting more and more in alignment with your intuition and really letting go of things that are not good for you, March is going to be the month where things really start to come together and move forward in ways that maybe we've been just feeling like we're going to happen before now, but they're not happening until now. And there's a divine reason for that, right? Does that make sense? So that's what I feel like the overall energy of March is. It's really aligning all of us with the path that we're meant to be on. And if we have been resistant to that path, if we have been ignoring our intuition's nudge to move into that path, yeah, March might be a little rough because it's going to be like a wake-up call to align you with what is really meant for you and in the way that it is meant for you. We really have to be operating from flow right now. We really have to be operating from trust and surrender and like faith. Also, I'm just realizing like it has a weird name on the screen for me. That's like my username for Spotify. I wonder if I don't think I can change it. That's really funny. And I just trust there's a divine reason for that. That's honestly, it's a perfect example. Like it is a perfect example of how everything is happening for a divine reason and we don't have to be in control of it. Right? We truly don't have to be in control of it because it's all working out for us in our favor all the time, no matter what. And March is going to really show us that, of how divinely led our lives really are and how when we listen to our intuition, things get so much better and things get so much easier and smoother because we're truly operating in alignment and flow and not from like our conditioning or our past beliefs or patterns or generational trauma or any of that bullshit that isn't really us, right? Your intuition is really like your soul's essence. It's really the reason that you came here and it's guiding you to what is meant for you. And March is going to show us all that. But let's get into the kind of nitty gritty of March. Just a general overview of the important transits that I've already mentioned: Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, lunar eclipse, and a solar eclipse. And we also have Mars direct now, which I'm so excited about. It just went direct like an hour ago. Filming this on Sunday night, the 23rd of February. And so we're going to start to see a lot of forward momentum starting now because Mars is going direct and moving forward again. Then we have a Venus retrograde beginning on March 1st at 10 degrees of Aries. It will move back into Pisces and it will go direct on April 12th at 24 degrees of Pisces. And then we have a Mercury retrograde that will be happening in the same space of Aries and Pisces, which to me is very serendipitous and very synchronistic because those of you that have placements here at Pisces or Aries or both, like, are really going to feel this the most. All of the placements you have at Pisces or Aries are going to be amplified over the next month. I would even argue 2 months. Over the next 2 months, the placements you have at early degrees Aries or late degrees Pisces are really going to be amplified by these retrogrades and by other transits we have going on, like the North Node and Saturn are going to be conjunct around the same time that the retrogrades end in April. And for the first 2 weeks of April, there's going to be a lot of forward momentum in that area of your life. So wherever you have Pisces and wherever you have Aries as well is getting major focus as a collective for all of us, but especially if you have any personal planets in late degrees of Pisces or early degrees of Aries. And if you want help reading the transits and understanding how to look at this on an individual level for yourself, that is something I teach in my Become an Astrologer course. Someone says, yikes, my Venus is in Pisces. Return of old lovers. It could be. It depends on your Venus and the rest of your chart as well. Depends on what degrees Pisces your Venus is in. And then, like I said, depends on the rest of your chart too. So what house it's in. It could maybe be, but I mean, I have everyone blocked. So that's not the type of general astrology that I preach or that I teach. Because Venus rules many things, not just relationships. It also rules our self-worth, our values, our money as well. So all of those kinds of things are getting a reevaluation. And I think, and I talked about this in the membership, the class I did on this, the deeper class I did on this in my membership recently, that we're going to really see people rejecting dating apps during this time and really vowing to meet more people in person. I think that's a big collective shift that's going to come from this Venus retrograde and the fact that Mercury is there too. It's okay, we're changing the way that we're communicating with each other. We're changing the way that we're choosing to align with people in relationships, right? So I think there's really going to be this mass movement away from dating apps, away from what we've gotten really comfortable with because of the lockdowns and everything. And we're going to start to get out of our comfort zone in new ways. And a big new beginning is coming from this in terms of dating in general. Yeah, I know. I don't let old lovers come back. So I feel that's a very general pop astrology way to look at retrogrades, especially Venus and Mercury retrogrades, which, yeah, it can happen. But it depends on your chart. It depends on more stuff than that. I've historically met new people during retrogrades because I personally am a person who really if you fuck me over, I'm a Taurus. If you fuck me over, we're done. So there's no room for old people to come back. But anyways, so that's how I see these, these two retrogrades, Mercury and Venus, affecting us on a collective mass scale is this really big shift in how we're approaching dating and romantic relationships in general. I also think it's going to apply to money. I think we're going to see a really big shift in the job market and careers and people really choosing to start businesses or do things that are more aligned with their values when it comes to how they make money. We're going to see a lot of massive new beginnings that are aligned with people's true soul calling, people's true dreams and passions that they have for themselves and their lives, especially when Mars goes back into Leo. I just think we're going to see a lot of massive shifts into new things this year, and it's starting in March. Did I talk about the Mercury retrograde? Yeah, I don't think I did. It starts on March 15th. So we have Venus retrograde starting on March 1st. We have the lunar eclipse and Virgo happening on March 13th. And then we have Mercury retrograde, Mercury stationing retrograde, literally 24 hours after the lunar eclipse. It stations retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. And then it will move back into Pisces. It will station direct at 26 degrees of Pisces on April 7th. Then we have the, like I said, lunar eclipse on March 13th. At 23 degrees of Virgo, and Saturn will be a part of this as well because Saturn's in Pisces. It will be on the sun at the time of this lunar eclipse. But how I see that is this really big make or break moment of, okay, am I going to rely on the job that I hate for money, or am I going to listen to my intuition and start an Etsy shop? That's how I see this lunar eclipse happening on a mass scale. Obviously, it's going to depend, like I said, on what's going on in your chart for how it's going to affect you personally on an individual level. But on a mass scale, I see this really being a make or break for people in terms of like, okay, you're going to continue to rely on the mind and making something work that's not working, which is like the definition of insanity. Like, how much are you going to do the same thing over and over before you realize it's not working? And it's sucking your soul out of your body. Like, how much longer are you going to try and force that to work? Versus listening to your intuition and doing the thing that's maybe uncomfortable, scary, that you've maybe never done before, but it's what your intuition has been telling you to do. And are you going to move in that direction? Because that's really the overall energy and season of life we're in as a collective, with the North Node being in Pisces and the South Node being in Virgo, and the lunar eclipses amplify that energy because the lunar eclipse is a full moon, so it involves both nodes, right? So it is an amplification and intensity of the collective season that we're in. So yeah, and if you have anything around late degrees of Virgo, earth signs, or mutable signs, those are going to be brought into this as well and going to be a part of it for you as well. Then those are like the most important dates of March. We have a solar eclipse on the 29th of March and 9 degrees of Aries, which I just think it's so synchronistic. I talked about this in the class. I just did on the stuff in my membership. I went deeper into the transits of March and everything and how to apply it to your chart. But I just think it's so synchronistic that everything that's happening in Aries in March is happening around like 9-10 degrees of Aries. So those of you that, like myself, share placements at 9 or 10 degrees of Aries, those are going to be major players at this time for you. And also, like I said earlier, anything that you have at late degrees of Pisces is going to be a major player as well. And then if you have anything that it's touching, like in cardinal signs, mutable signs, fire signs, or water signs, that these transits are touching, those are going to be brought into it as well. And this is how it gets a little complex when we break it down for your individual chart. But yeah, in general, the solar eclipse in Aries feels like a big new beginning. It feels like everything that has happened in March has realigned to get us to this point, to really kickstart us in a new direction. And we're really like, we have the energy to act on it. And we're like, we have the clarity on which to like move forward with. And we've really done a lot of like just inner work and healing through all the retrogrades as well. And it's like time to move forward, right? It's time to do the thing. It's time to begin again, for the sake of being cliche. And then April, the first 2 weeks of April feel kind of intense because we will have Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune. Well, that's like the end of March. We'll have all of those planets on the North Node, which is a big, massive ending so that we can step into a new beginning. So April could be like, okay, we have clarity from March. We reassess a lot of stuff. And that's what retrogrades are. To put it simply, retrogrades are not bad. They're not scary. They're just a reassessment of that energy. So Mars was just retrograde for 2.5 months. We were reassessing our energetic exchange with people. Does this feel balanced? Does this relationship feel reciprocal? Does this feel nurturing to me? Does this feel supportive to me? We're reassessing our energy and our actions. And now that Mars is direct, we're like able to move forward with what we reassessed, right? With what we reevaluated. And we get to make those changes now that Mars is direct in our actual lives. We get to embody what was brought up for us during the retrograde period. And any other retrograde is no different. Mercury going retrograde is a reassessment of our mindsets, a reassessment of our communication, maybe also like where we're going on a daily basis as well, how we're traveling. Venus retrograde is a reassessment of our values, our self-worth, our finances, and our relationships, right? It's just a reassessment. So we can realign. Best way to see retrogrades is like a recalibration of that energy in the area of life you have it happening for you. So like as an example, for me, I had the Mars retrograde for the last 2 months going through my 10th house, reassessing how I'm showing up in my career. If y'all remember, if you're not new to my YouTube channel, which if you are, welcome to the channel. I was going live on here a lot more, like before Mars went retrograde, because Mars was retrograding in my area of career, right? My public reputation, my public perception. And I was really reassessing, okay, how do I want to show up on social media? Where do I want to put my time and my energy, right? Where feels reciprocal? Mars in Cancer, what feels nurturing and supportive for me, and also for the people that I want to help with how I show up online. All of that was being reassessed. And I kind of like took a step back from doing YouTube lives. I kind of took a step back from doing TikTok lives a little bit. I kind of really stopped creating content like I used to be creating content. And I reassessed, right? I recalibrated. Okay, what actually feels good to me? And I needed a break too. Like, I've been going really hard at content creation for 5 years at this point almost, and I needed a little vacation. I needed a little break. So that's what Mars retrograde brought to me, right? And now I'm able to move forward with what I reassessed and like introspectively was like, what do I want to make changes on? And now I get to come out of that introspective period and be more extrospective. Is that a word? Externally focused on how I'm making those changes. Is this making sense? So retrogrades are just recalibration. They're just a recalibration. And we need to have them. They're necessary periods of realignment. So yeah, it's just a slowdown so that can happen, so that we can reassess and ultimately realign in a way that feels better for us. Hi, Kiki. I don't know if you're still on here. I think you commented that a little bit ago, but yeah, that's what I just wanted to come on here and share with you guys, an overview of the Mars transits and how I see them. Now that I've broken them down, there's really only like 4 major things. That doesn't even take up half a page. So I really don't know why people are freaking out about March. The summer honestly feels like crazier than March. We do also have Neptune moving into Aries on the 30th. And then we'll have the Sun move into Aries on the 20th of March, and the solar, no, not the solar. What is that called? The spring equinox. I should know the names of those, but I'm still learning them. We have the spring equinox, which is truly like the energetic new year, true new beginnings. Yeah, true renewal, regeneration. Sun's coming out, flowers are coming out. Like, it just feels like the fog has been lifted. And like I said, I really think March is going to bring that energy. It may be intense in some ways, in some aspects, but it is what needs to happen in order for us to be more aligned with our soul's calling, our soul's purpose, I feel like, in our spiritual path. Because we are spiritual beings, and March is really going to show us that. So if you're on your shit, if you're living your dream, you're building your dream, like, March is going to be really good. If you've been resisting your intuition, if you've been resisting like what you actually want to be doing, March might be a little rough. So yeah, we also dreams might be pretty intense as well in March, especially towards the end of March. Yeah, that's what I have for y'all for March. I'm really excited about it. I've been excited about it for months. Neptune moving into Aries will be interesting as well. And then in May, we have Saturn moving into Aries. In June, I believe, we have Uranus moving into Gemini. And then I can't remember off the top of my head if it's June or July, but then we have Jupiter moving into Cancer. So there's a lot of outer movement happening this year. I mean, all of those things will go back into the sign that they were in before when it retrogrades. And then 2026 is when they'll fully move into new signs. Saturn, Neptune, Uranus. Jupiter's going to stay in Cancer once it moves there. But everything else, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, will move back. And then it will go forward again and move into its new sign fully in 2026. So yeah, I think March is really going to catapult us into a lot of new beginning, new paradigms, which isn't always fun or comfortable, but it is what is needed. So that's what I have to say about March. I feel like I've said that like 5 times now, but more things just keep coming out about March. So yeah, that's what I have for y'all tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise I'm gonna hop off and connect with my community, my membership community, and go deeper into some of the stuff as well in there. Yeah, it is gonna be different too when we're living it. Looking at transits is one thing, and then living it is something else. It doesn't compare to March 2020 though. March 2020, there was so much worse transits happening. Is that how you say that? Like, we had Saturn on Pluto with South Node. We had, I think we had a square between Saturn and Uranus, which is not fun. We won't have that transit again for... See, Uranus is going to be in Gemini. It would, to square it, it would have to be in... Well, no, we're not going to see a Saturn-Uranus square probably again for like 10 or 12 years. maybe even longer, because Uranus will move into Cancer, and then Saturn will move into, let's see, 4 times 2.5, 8. Yeah, it'll probably be like 12 or 14 years, maybe even longer before we see a Saturn Uranus square. And that's what caused the kind of fuckery we experienced in March of 2020. So March of this year is nothing like March of 2020. The transits of March this year are much more comfortable than they were in March of 2020. So I'll add that as well. Danielle says, thank goodness. Yeah, we'll never experience that again. That was some crazy, Saturn on Pluto only happens once every 30 years. And then for it to also line up with a Saturn square to Uranus, like it's just so rare, which I didn't really know how to read the transits back then, but now today, obviously I know how to read transits, and I look back on those transits and I'm like, oh, good God, no wonder like all that shit happened in March of 2020. Like the signs are there, but no, this March feels it feels a lot more positive overall as well. So, yeah. But yeah, if y'all missed it, I talked about the transits of March 2025, which begins this weekend. Nuts. I just did a general overview on this live, and then in my membership community, I just got off a live stream in there, and I went into March for like an hour. And I also talked more about the Mars retrograde ending, because that ended today. That lives in my membership community, and I went through kind of how to look at your chart for it as well. Yeah, it feels so much better to have Mars direct now. Like, I swear to God, I felt the energy shift today. And the last week of it has been so rough. I really feel like this last week of the Mars retrograde was the most brutal of it all. So I'm really stoked that Mars is direct now. And yeah, it all makes sense. It all adds up. Okay, well, I'm gonna get off here now. Appreciate y'all for being here. I assume the replay will just be posted as soon as I end the live. So if you want to go back and listen, and like I said too, there's a deeper dive that I just did in my membership community of March and of the Mars movement through Cancer and Leo now that it's direct. So love you guys. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.